Hi, I'm Dr. Ryan Sagu. I am a GP, a lifestyle medicine physician, and a well-being coach. And today I'm going to talk about lifestyle medicine. Now, I've spent years working at the intersection of medicine and mindset. And what I've seen over and over is this. Our healthcare system is brilliant at managing emergencies, but where it struggles is when it comes to prevention. And lifestyle medicine is the bridge here. It's not about replacing traditional care, but it's about completing it. It's about shifting from symptom suppression to root cause resolution. And that's what today's talk is all about. I really like this quote from Thomas Edison. I think he was ahead of his time. He understood that health isn't just about pills, it's about how we live. It's about what we eat, how we move, how we sleep, how we think. And in many ways, modern science is catching up to what ancient wisdom already knew. Our daily choices shape our long-term health. And lifestyle medicine gives us a framework to do that with structure and the evidence behind it. So what is lifestyle medicine? This is an evidence-based discipline that uses behavioral interventions to prevent, treat, and even reverse chronic disease. And it's supported by bodies like the British Society of Lifestyle Medicine, the American College of Lifestyle Medicine, and even the NHS long-term plan. It integrates with, not replaces, conventional medicine. Think of it like this. It's prescribing movement for type 2 diabetes, teaching stress reduction for IBS, guiding nutrition for depression. Now, this is medicine just delivered differently. And why is it so important now? It's because chronic diseases are not something in the distant future. They are already here. 1 in 2 adults in the UK lives with a chronic condition. 80% of our GP consultations are rooted in stress, in sleep disruption, in fatigue, in gut issues, poor nutrition, anxiety, and these aren't random, they are all interconnected. But they don't need to be inevitable. However, right now, most people are on autopilot and we are treating these symptoms without addressing the root. And also, over 60% of adults are overweight or obese. Nearly 5 million people have type 2 diabetes. And mental health issues like anxiety and depression are amongst the top causes of time off work. And yet people are still asking, why do I feel this way? The problem is that we're often looking for answers in the wrong places. We can no longer separate physical and emotional health. We have to look at the whole person. And this is one of the fundamental principles of lifestyle medicine. It's about looking at the whole person. So let's take a moment now to ground ourselves in what lifestyle medicine actually stands for. And these are 4 of the key areas that everything else rests on. Firstly, it's about whole person care, not just managing individual symptoms. This means that we're not just putting a plaster over a problem. We're looking at the entire person, their mind, their body, their lifestyle, their environment, their relationships, because health isn't siloed, it's interconnected. Secondly, we take a root cause approach. We don't just ask what's wrong, we ask, why is this happening? Whether it's fatigue, high blood pressure, chronic pain, we dig deeper to understand the real drivers, whether that's stress, poor sleep, or emotional strain. And third, we want to empower patients. We want them to be active participants in their health. And this is about partnership. Patients aren't passive recipients of care, they are collaborators. When we understand their health story, they gain the tools to write a new chapter. And finally, Sustainable behavioral change is supported by clinical science. And this isn't just guesswork. We use evidence-based strategies grounded in behavior change. Things like motivational interviewing, making SMART goals, habit stacking, and these are all in order to help people make changes that actually last. And together, these principles don't just help people get better, they help them stay well. And that's the power of lifestyle medicine. So what does lifestyle medicine actually look like? Well, it's built on 6 core pillars, and these aren't fads. They are backed by decades of research. They work together and not in isolation. So if we get them aligned, and then we are creating the conditions for healing. So let's explore each one of these, and I'll show you how they play out in real life. The first pillar is nutrition. Now, food is information. Every bite that we take, it sends a chemical message to the body, either towards inflammation or repair. We advocate a plant-predominant whole food approach. Now, this doesn't mean veganism. It means basing your meals on foods that are nutrient-rich and fiber-dense. Things like colorful vegetables, legumes, whole grains, nuts, and seeds. The fiber feeds your microbiome. The nutrients support cellular repair. And ultra-processed foods, on the other hand, they are linked with things like gut dysbiosis, depression, metabolic dysfunction. And shifting this pillar alone can be transformative. So physical activity. Now, movement is a biological necessity. It improves our insulin sensitivity, it reduces inflammation, and it boosts endorphins and enhances neuroplasticity. But here's the key, it doesn't need to be intense to be effective. A brisk 30-minute walk every day cuts cardiovascular risk significantly. Now, movement should be functional and joyful. Things like gardening, dancing, cycling. Now, I often ask patients, what movement do you think you'll actually stick with? Because that's the one that will change your health. The third pillar is sleep. Now, sleep is your body's repair system. If we get less than 7 hours of sleep per night, this is associated with increased risks of obesity, diabetes, and depression. And yet, many people wear sleep deprivation badges like it's something of honor. In practice, I often ask patients to track their sleep with a journal or a wearable so that we can spot patterns. We then optimize their routine. Things like morning light exposure, limiting screens in the evening, cutting caffeine. These small adjustments can dramatically improve quality of life. The fourth pillar is stress management. Now, stress is unavoidable, but chronic stress is optional. Long-term activation of the stress response raises cortisol and it dysregulates hormones, and this promotes inflammation. And this is where mind-body techniques like breath work and grounding and reframing come in. I had a patient with IBS and they saw dramatic symptom reduction by learning how to switch off their sympathetic nervous system through diaphragmatic breathing and NLP-based mindset shifts. Now, the goal isn't to avoid stress, it's to recover from it more efficiently. The fifth pillar is healthy relationships. Now, social connection is a predictor of longevity, and it's just as strong a predictor of longevity as smoking cessation. Loneliness activates the same part of the brain as physical pain. Relationships can help regulate or dysregulate our nervous system. So when we work with patients, we aim to identify draining relationships. We help to set boundaries and strengthen meaningful relationships. It's not softness, this is neuroscience. Emotional safety is foundational in our physical healing. And finally, avoiding risky substances. Things like tobacco, alcohol, recreational drugs, and increasingly ultra-processed foods. These hijack our dopamine pathways and disrupt our normal function. We don't just tell people to stop, we explore the emotional reasons behind their use. Why does someone reach for alcohol after work? What's the unmet need? From there, we use techniques like habit substitution, cue awareness, and stress regulation to create sustainable changes. Now, it's important to talk about this hidden link between stress and chronic inflammation. Stress and chronic inflammation are very closely connected. Chronic stress keeps our cortisol levels high, and this dysregulates our immune system and the gut barrier. This creates a cycle of low-grade inflammation that contributes to heart disease, autoimmunity, even depression. And this is not just psychological, it's immunological and hormonal. And when we address the stress, the inflammation also follows. Now, stress is important. Short bursts of stress are fine for our system, but our bodies are not designed to live in a 24/7 stress state. Many people are in this kind of hyper arousal state, constantly on edge. And I help patients to track their stress throughout the day. And this is called micro awareness. And we put this together with physiological down regulation strategies like box breathing, cold exposure, and grounding. So you don't just feel better, you function better. And chronic inflammation is something that we have been talking about, and think of it like a smoldering fire in your tissues. You may not see the flames, but it's damaging your blood vessels, your brain, your gut, your joints. And when we do blood tests, sometimes we see a raised CRP or ferritin. But even without these lab tests, we can assume that if there's symptoms like fatigue and brain fog or joint pain, then there is inflammation going on. But the good news is that with nutrition and sleep and stress management and good gut health, this can all help to calm down that fire. So I like to look at it like this, where stress and inflammation together are the foundation of majority of chronic diseases. They are the twin engines of chronic disease, and together they drive metabolic syndrome, mental health disorders, cardiovascular issues, even cancer risk. But here's the empowering part, is that when we reverse engineer this process, we don't just manage illness, we create vitality. We move from disease management to health creation. And like I said, lifestyle medicine isn't just theory, it's proven, it's evidence-based. The DIRECT trial, it showed a reversal in type 2 diabetes in nearly half of the participants that were using dietary and behavioral interventions. The Ornish study reversed coronary artery disease. Blue zone communities, which you may have heard of, they live longer and healthier lives by following the lifestyle principles. Things like purpose, plant-predominant diets, movement, connection. And Harvard data shows an 82% reduction in heart disease risk throughout lifestyle change. This is real, it's measurable, and it's transformative medicine. So how do we go about making practical lifestyle changes? Now, behavior change is a science. It starts with motivation, but it is sustained by frameworks and systems. So things like motivational interviewing, habit loops, making SMART goals, using anchor-based NLP to help people shift from intention to action. These are all really important techniques. For example, if someone wants to improve their sleep, we can co-create a wind down routine that feels good and fits in with their life. And change sticks mostly when it's personalized, when it's meaningful and it's supported. So, what simple steps can we take within each of these pillars? Now, with nutrition, it's helpful to actually start by bringing in and not cutting out. For example, like adding an extra portion of vegetables to your meals and aiming for 30 different plant based foods a week. This is important because it feeds the microbiome. And we can also do things like swapping out refined carbs for whole grains, brown rice over white, taking oats instead of sugary cereals, reducing processed foods by planning 3 home cooked meals each week. And also remember that hydration is so important as well. Aim for at least 6 to 8 glasses of water a day. So with physical activity, if structured exercise feels like a chore, then think in movement moments. So walk during phone calls, stretch after you brush your teeth, take the stairs, not the lift, and build in about 150 minutes of moderate activity per week. So that's just over 20 minutes a day. And try and add in 2 strength-based sessions as well. And this could be things like resistance bands at home or doing body weight squats in your living room. So movement should support your life and not drain it. We spoke about how important sleep is. So start by anchoring your sleep-wake time. Even at the weekends, try and get 10 minutes of morning light as soon as you wake up. And this helps to reset your circadian rhythm. In the evening, switch your screens off at least an hour before bed or use a blue light filter. Try and avoid caffeine after 2 p.m. and alcohol within 3 hours of sleep. And create a wind down ritual. It might be things like journaling, stretching, taking a warm shower, so that your body knows when it's time to rest. Managing stress is also vital. Now, stress isn't just mental, it's physiological. So try and start the day with 2 minutes of slow diaphragmatic breathing. Inhale for 4, exhale for 6 seconds. Or try the 5-4-3-2-1 grounding technique when you feel overwhelmed. Build in micro moments of calm, like stand outside with a cup of tea, do a 1-minute body scan at your desk. Most importantly, identify your stress triggers and your recovery rituals, because without recovery, stress becomes chronic. And try and cultivate healthy relationships. Think about your relationships as part of your hygiene. Think about who energizes you, who drains you, and prioritize the meaningful connections. Make time for friends who lift you, even if it's just a 10-minute call. Set boundaries with people or behaviors that constantly cause you stress. Schedule a regular meal or a walk with someone that you love. Connection is medicine. It's not a luxury. It's actually core to our human need. And try and avoid harmful behaviors. So rather than focus on restriction, focus on replacement. So things like swapping high sugar snacks for fruit and nuts, alcohol for herbal tea, swapping smoking breaks for a short walk, and recognizing your cues. Like, do you eat late at night because you're tired or you're lonely? So try and meet the need and not the craving. And always pair behavior change with support. Having that accountability, having a coach or a community can make all the difference in making these changes stick. The power really is in your daily choices. Healing doesn't happen in giant leaps. It happens in small, repeated, intentional choices that we make every day. And over time, those choices create the future version of us. It's the version that is not just surviving, but is thriving. The 6 pillars are more than principles. They are your toolkit for long-term health, for energy, for joy. And you don't need to change everything at once. Just start by making one small change at a time. And I think this quote beautifully captures the essence of lifestyle medicine. It reminds us that health isn't defined by a single decision, but by the sum of our everyday actions. So whether it's what we put on our plate, or how we move our body, or the way we manage our stresses, every choice is a vote for either healing or for harm. It's empowering because it means that we're not just passive recipients of our health, but we are the active participants. So as we walk through our day, eating, moving, resting, breathing, connecting, we're writing our future health story one moment at a time. The power to change is already in our hands. Thank you so much for listening today. I hope this session has sparked some new ideas, reflections, or even just a sense of possibility about how we can take back control of our health through the way that we live. So if you'd like to learn more, to connect, or whether you want to explore lifestyle changes, you can reach out to Alcohol Free Sikhs or myself, Dr. Ranj Sigoo. Thank you.